We are back talking sports and having lunch.
12 o'clock, I got lunch with Steve Russell.
The Dean of Sports Talk is coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill Studios.
A long, long run and a great run.
Make sure you search for Sports Scene on Facebook, YouTube, and over 30 audio platforms, including Apple and Spotify.
I've been listening to you basically since I was a little kid.
When you live in the community, be part of the community. Sports Scene with Steve Russell is something that is so iconic.
And here's your host, Steve Russell.
Hello, welcome once again to another Sports Scene podcast. It is a Monday, really good weekend in Gator sports for the most part. Gator baseball, taking a couple from Arkansas, really important to get that series win. How about Gator men's golf, winning another SEC championship? So congratulations to J.C. Deacon for that. They're going to get their regional announcement coming up, and Gator softball is going to try to win the series with a game in Baton Rouge, and it's been a really, really good week. All right. Zach is our producer today. We thank him for doing what he does. Got a really good show for you today. And we're going to start out by talking to Joe Colorio. He is the owner of Titan MRI and Highfield MRI. Welcome. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
First of all, how'd you get into all that? I want to know that. How'd you get into those businesses?
I started back in 1997 with what was Gainesville Open MRI, and then it transferred to Gainesville Highfield MRI. About 8 years ago, I left the company and opened up Titan MRI on my own with my wife, and the rest is history. It was very successful, and then this past year we were lucky enough to buy Gainesville Highfield, back, and we are now in control of it, and it's rolling.
And it's rolling well. Let me just say that as well. You're really involved in sports a lot, and I appreciate, by the way, Joe is a sponsor of this show and many others, and I appreciate that. How'd you get into all that?
It just, I see the value of helping, the young athletes. Being part of the UF brand is important in this community, and we like to be known and out there and definitely give back to the university.
For those who don't know, because of this whole thing we've got now with the way student athletes are paid, Joe is doing whatever you want to call it now, with Taylor Schumacher. You've been involved with other players as well. How did that come about?
Well, we really specialize. We like to specialize in women's sports. Florida softballs is close to our heart, and the athletes and the young ladies. They're very professional, and we just like to support them and give back to to them, really.
All right. If I said Titan MRI and I said Kentucky Derby, they wouldn't necessarily go together at first blush, but they do in this case. I'm going to let you take this story here because you're involved with a horse that won a race in Arkansas. The horse now qualifies for the Kentucky Derby. I think that's really cool. Take that away.
Yeah, my sister-in-law, Monique Delk, she works for the St. Elias stable, owned by Vinny Viola, who owns the Florida Panthers hockey team. She runs his outfit, and they've had great success over the past years. She won the Derby with him in 2017 with Always Dreaming. They've won multiple Breeders' Cup races, and this year they were lucky enough to have a horse called Sandman, who actually won the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby about 5 weeks ago, and he's qualified and he will race next Saturday.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's an amazing business. They bought the horse in Ocala for $1.2 million, and he's been very successful.
I would imagine that having obviously never had a horse or anything, the care, first of all, it's a tremendous business to be into, but the care, trainers, diet, all of that to make a horse successful, I imagine that's really important too.
My father-in-law who's passed, he was a trainer, and there's, it's a 24-hour job. I mean, the horse has got to eat, the horse has got to be fed, taken care of and bathed and walked, and it's a 365, 24-hour job.
One of the things I've always wondered about, and there you go with Sandman winning the Arkansas Derby, how people that purchase horses know what to do in terms of this horse is the one I want to purchase, this is the one I want to get. Knowing nothing about that, but it fascinates me because you have to know what you're doing in order to go and look at the horse you're going to buy.
It's all bloodline. I mean, they basically, there's a skill in that, reading the bloodlines, and this horse is by his sire is Tappet, which is a very expensive horse to get into, and his sons and daughters, they produce great results.
I imagine you're going to Kentucky Derby.
I am. Yeah. This is my third year going. We had a horse actually 2 years ago. His name was Forte. He was the favorite, and actually the morning of, we got a call that he stepped on a rock and he had a blister. So they had to scratch him the morning of. So that was pretty disappointing.
The Kentucky Derby is a bucket list thing. I've been to a lot of great events I've been fortunate to go to. Describe that. What is the event like for you when you went?
It's overwhelming. I mean, it's like going to Disney World, and the amount of people that are dressed, to the nines, and the food, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Everybody's in a good spirit. I'm lucky enough to be on the inner side of it, where I'm allowed to go in the paddock, and I'm allowed to have certain access. So it's a lot of fun for me. I really enjoy it.
I hope I ask you a question that you can. How do owners choose riders?
That's interesting. Some of the trainers, the owners don't choose the riders mostly. The trainers, use their riders. Who they like. On Sandman, they in the Rebel Stakes, which was the prep race before the Arkansas Derby, they had a jockey who was on Sandman for a few races, and just didn't put him in the right spot. In the Rebel Stakes before the Arkansas Derby, Sandman ran third. Got some points to qualify for the Derby, but for the Arkansas Derby they switched riders, and he won.
Wow!
So
that's pretty cool.
It's pretty interesting to see that. How they the jockey is a big part of the horse's success. I
want to end, Joe, by going back to where we started. And again, much appreciation for being a sponsor here. But, you go back, your business goes back a long way. You've helped a ton of people, recover. I imagine that in and of itself is gratifying too, when you have a business like that can help people get better.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're definitely in it for the patients. We're here, and very present in the Gainesville area and in Lake City. We're around, all the time, and we're getting patients in, as soon as possible is important for the doctors, for, and for the patients.
Have you always been in the sports?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was coaching, 7 travel ball games this weekend, so I'm definitely involved in a lot of sports.
Yeah, travel ball. Oh yeah, those a few trips and a few places you go to.
It's a whole new world.
It is. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and
thanks, Steve.
Good luck.
Yep.
Enjoy the Derby.
I hope I come back with another trophy.
That would be really cool.
Definitely.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. Much more to come on our Sports Scene podcast. Stay with us.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go.
We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand. We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to our Sports Scene podcast. We appreciate you being here. And again, I want you to know that you're welcome, and we're coming to you from the Body Armor podcast studio here in Gainesville. Body Armor leads the world of sports and active hydration with game-changing innovation. Body Armor, make sure to upgrade your sports drink. And our gold sponsor is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, putting star power to work in your financial life for over 90 years. Campus USA Credit Union. If you have a Facebook comment, we'll take those. We'll get those live. And those are brought to you by Titan MRI and Imaging, now with 2 locations in Gainesville, 1 in Lake City. You can start feeling better today. It's your choice, Titan MRI. And our guests are always sponsored by Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators. You can also join us via YouTube. And our YouTube sponsor, QC Kinetics. If you have joint or muscle pain, you don't need surgery, drugs, or downtime, schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. And our audio clips of the day brought to you by Ruse Ugra, State Farm Insurance. State Farm agent Ruse Ugra is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want. In just a couple of seconds here, we got a good show planned for you. Johnathan Safir has been promoted to a Gator men's basketball assistant from an analyst position. He will join us next. Billy Donovan will be here to talk about his enshrinement in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. That's going to take place in September. And then Florida in baseball will play South Carolina on the road this weekend. Carolina's play-by-play voice, Derek Scott, will join us. Carolina took 1 game in their series this past weekend. They are below 500 in the league. But, when Florida's gone to South Carolina recently, even with, really good teams, it hasn't gone real well. But hopefully, at least, the Gators getting a lot of confidence from that 2 out of 3 series win against a good Arkansas team. And I'm not going to take anything away from Florida's win, but I don't know. Was Arkansas overly impressive to you? Hitting-wise, I sure didn't think so. They've always been able to pitch, but, look, they're a good team, but Florida now did what it had to do in this series. And remember, Florida has Texas left, and they just took care of Texas A&M with huge crowds in Austin. And then the Gators end with Alabama here. So the season is winding down. Gators softball has just 1 more weekend left, and that's going to be when Oklahoma comes to town, Patty Gasso's team, here next week, and that will end the SEC regular season in softball. All right, hopefully we're going to get Johnathan here to join us. And again, Billy Donovan here. Also, Derek Scott, the play-by-play voice of South Carolina baseball, will join us. I mentioned at the top of the show, a big congratulations to Gator men's golf and also to Gator lacrosse, conference champions. So Mandy O'Leary, congratulations, Coach, on that. And again, the Gators are SEC men's golf champions. They will get their regional bid, I believe, on Friday, I think. So J.C. Deacon doing it again. Done a really, really good job with that Gator men's golf program. And how about the NFL draft? A bunch of Gators going on the third day. Did you know that set a record for Florida? The number of players drafted on that particular day. So hopefully all those guys, and Desmond Watson, who's apparently already lost some weight since his workout here, he could be the heaviest player to ever play in the NFL, depending on what his weight will be if he makes it with the Buccaneers. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. All right, we're going to wait on Coach, I think, and try to get him here. Again, newly named a Gator men's basketball assistant coach. Let me also say something very quickly, if I can. I hope that if you're a Gator basketball fan, that you will celebrate, savor this national championship, because already, next year. I get it, but those things don't come down the pike, folks. That's very, very difficult to win a natty. So get your gear, wear it, enjoy it, and keep an eye certainly on what's happening. But it goes quickly. It just seems like yesterday that the Gators went back to back. Look how long ago that was. That was a long time ago. So you never quite know. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and hopefully Coach Safir will join us. Stay with us here on our Sports Scene podcast.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Welcome back to our Sports Scene podcast. I'm Steve Russell. Thank you for tuning in today. Well, we are still in the afterglow of the Gator men's basketball's national championship season. And with us is Johnathan Safir, newly appointed Gator assistant coach. Johnathan, congratulations.
Thanks for having me.
When did you get the news that you were going to be an assistant?
That's a great question. I think in talking with Coach Golden, kind of as Coach Hovde and Coach Andrzejak were going through their interview process, I think with the familiarity and relationship I have, we had honest and transparent conversations, and I knew a few weeks before it was officially announced.
Oh, wow. Good. How was this season for you?
A dream come true. How was it for you?
Oh, well, hey, I can tell you what. It was a fun team to cover. It was a fun team to watch play. But, so much now of the sport, Coach, is analytics. And, you hear that term, and I'm not sure the average fan gets that. Can you, if somebody's watching or listening here, what does that entail in preparing a team to play?
Yeah, I think in preparing a team to play, that goes into our scouting, our game planning. But really, it's a top-down, holistic approach we take as a program, whether that's in recruiting, in player development, in evaluations, in in-game strategy, in scheduling. There's not anything we do in our program that's not looked at through an analytical lens that allows us to make as much of an informed decision as possible.
How'd you get into coaching?
Well, once around my bar mitzvah, when I realized making the NBA was probably unlikely, I figured I want to turn my attention to the next best thing, which is coaching. And I've been fortunate enough along the way to have great mentors and put together a couple winning seasons, and here we are.
One of the things I think that fans understand but don't really see is the talent evaluation part of it, because you still have to recruit high school kids, but certainly with the portal now and all of that, how much goes into now time-wise, Johnathan, looking into the portal, looking at possible guys you might get?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge component of the job, right? Is the evaluation. Like you said, it's not just evaluating high school. Gone are the days of just kind of pulling out the ESPN top 100 and just kind of crossing off each player that we watch or evaluate or analyze. And you have to have a big picture overview and understanding of players and rosters throughout all of college basketball, but also internationally as well. It's a global game, and with the influx of the transfer portal and NIL, I think more players are coming over from Europe and overseas than ever before.
How is Todd to work for?
The best.
That's simple. That's 2 words. I love that. What makes him the best?
Well, 2 words, analytically, and we're efficient, right? So I tried to make it short and sweet. But I think he's just got a great demeanor, personality, a joy to be around on a day-to-day basis. But more than anything, has a great understanding of family and work-life balance, and trusts you to do your job and hold you accountable. But it doesn't mean we need to be in the office at 6 a.m. and here till 9 p.m. every night.
One of the things I think that's really fun to see, I only coach at the high school level, but it was fun to see a kid start here and end up, here through that kid's hard work, the coaching aspect of it as well. That's got to be pretty rewarding, when you get a kid and then when he leaves or even during the time he's here, you see the work that's put in and then the success. That's got to be a pretty rewarding thing.
Yeah, it's as rewarding as it gets, right? Is seeing through a game plan that you devise and sell them on in recruiting and develop them and turn them from 18 or 19-year-olds into 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old men and win a lot of games on the way.
Have you ever seen a league like the SEC this year? I mean, I don't care if you played, a team that didn't have a great winning record. It was always a gauntlet. Have you ever been through a year like that in the conference?
No, I mean, certainly it was the best league I've ever been a part of, but I think, quite frankly, it might have been the best league in the history of college basketball.
Wow. When it comes to evaluating a player, I understand it depends on what you're looking for, but generally speaking, when you look to evaluate a player that's going to fit into your program, what are some things you're looking for?
Well, we look for guys with great attitudes, great work ethics, and guys that really want to be here at Florida. We think if you have those 3 things, your floor is just going to be very high. Think about it. If they have great attitudes and allow us to coach them, if they have great work ethics, they'll work on their game, and it allows our player development system and our developmental plan to work. And if they really want to be here at Florida, they won't be constantly thinking about where else they could be. If you check all 3 of those boxes, in addition to obviously having certain on-court characteristics or things of that ilk, but if you check those 3 intangible characteristics, it'll certainly raise your floor.
What positions will you coach? Do you know?
No, I think we're still kind of working through that all, but we're pretty fluid and dynamic, and I think have a lot of great and skilled coaches on our staff, and we all have our hands in a lot of different areas.
The run that you guys made was so fun to watch, obviously. What was it like being on the sidelines for that, going through the ups and downs of what you went to, and eventually, winning thing? What was that like for you?
It was special. It was incredible. It was surreal. It was indescribable. I'm still kind of coming to terms with it all because the reality in 2025 is you cut down the nets on Monday, you celebrate on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you have retention meetings shortly thereafter, and you got to hit the portal. It's the portal opened 3 weeks. We were 3 weeks delayed in the portal, which is okay. It's a trade we would make any day of the week, but it's just the reality of the situation and the score of the game.
Is it, I don't want to say harder to be a coach, but because you just said, look, somebody has to do something in terms of when players can enter a portal. It's crazy because like you said, you don't have time to breathe and all of a sudden you have to go back and look who's going to go into the portal, who's in the portal. What's it like going through that, and do you think that'll change?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think nobody has sympathy for coaches, and that's fine. That's not what we're asking for. But I think for the well-being of the student athletes, it's not fair for the fact that the portal was open 3 weeks prior to the conclusion of our season. And we had guys on our roster who we knew were going to enter the portal, but were being great Samaritans and great teammates. And we're losing opportunities elsewhere because they couldn't enter the portal and also still be part of our run and take visits elsewhere and things of that nature. So they were willingly losing other opportunities that they shouldn't have been losing because we were winning games. Things out of their control, like us making a run, hurt some of their future opportunities, and us winning should not be mutually exclusive with hurting us in recruiting the portal. Now, it obviously should help, but even if it weren't to help, we should not be penalized and have a 3-week delay.
Last thing. I'm watching some of the NBA games, and I mean, man, it's physical. And it's physical in college, too. I guess coaches don't want a lot of fouls called, and I'm not asking you to rate the officiating, Coach, but just do you like where the game is in terms of the balance of calling a foul versus letting kids play? I wouldn't want to officiate for nothing because nobody likes what you do, but where do you see that in terms of the college game?
Yeah, I think it's a really hard league to officiate, especially the SEC. It's some of the best athletes in the world, and they're still developing their skill sets. Some are more skilled than others, but you combine that elite athleticism with expanding and developing skill sets, and you get a lot of collisions. And a lot of collisions means the refs are making a lot of calls one way or the other and able to influence and determine outcomes, and they're doing the best they can. They have a very difficult job, so I don't envy that.
Well, congratulations to you for getting named to the coaching staff officially. Congratulations on winning the national championship, and thanks for doing this, and hope to have you back. Thanks, Johnathan.
Awesome, Steve. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and go Gators.
Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, Johnathan Safir, new Gator men's basketball assistant coach. Next up, a coach you might know, Billy Donovan, will join us to talk about his Hall of Fame induction next as we continue with our Sports Scene podcast.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Welcome back to our Sports Scene podcast. We're coming to you from the Body Armor podcast studio here in Gainesville. Body Armor leads the world of sports and active hydration with game-changing innovation. Body Armor, make sure to upgrade your sports drink. And our gold sponsor, Campus USA Credit Union, putting star power to work in your financial life for over 90 years. Campus USA Credit Union. If you have a Facebook comment, those are sponsored by Titan MRI and Imaging. Now with 2 locations in Gainesville, 1 in Lake City. Start feeling better today. It is your choice. And our guest sponsor is Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have a YouTube comment, those are sponsored by QC Kinetics. If you have joint or muscle pain, you don't need surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. And our clips of the day, always brought to you by Ruse Ogra State Farm. State Farm agent Ruse Ogra is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want. Zach, let's make sure we text Billy. That's what he wanted, to let him know we were going. And then we're going to get, I hope, Billy Donovan here with us. And then we're going to end by getting South Carolina's baseball play-by-play voice, Derek Scott, as the Gators go to South Carolina this coming weekend, as the regular season baseball schedule is rapidly running down. We will, if technology allows, be doing our Friday Sports Scene show from Columbia. We're already going to be talking about the NFL draft with Mike DiRocco, who covers Jags for ESPN and ESPN.com. He will assess their draft. I'm working on getting some other guests for the show on Friday when we are up in Columbia as well. So hopefully we get Billy here in a couple of seconds, and anxious to talk to him about his Hall of Fame induction, which I believe takes place in September. But going in with a terrific class, and, it was so cool to have Billy be part of this and having it be done in the season that Gator men's basketball had. That was kind of cool. Al Horford doing his thing with the Celtics in the playoffs as they take on the Magic. My Knicks got away with one yesterday. The officials missed a foul call that should have been called. And the Knicks escaped Detroit, and they can now wrap up their first-round series. And I hate to say this. If they do beat Detroit, I don't know that they win their second-round matchup. I hope they do. I'm certainly rooting for them, but we'll see. All right. We're going to, I hope, get Billy here momentarily as we will talk to him about his Hall of Fame induction, which is, again, so richly deserved. Very, very cool thing. All right. There's the man, the myth, and the legend, Billy Donovan, with us. Billy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for taking time to do this. And I haven't had a chance to personally. Congratulations. I guess, I've gotten several emails here for questions for you, but the first one was, when did you find out?
Well, it was really a long process. I had basically been notified that I was nominated back in October. And then there's a process you have to go through. I don't know what the total number of people that accepted nominations was. It was maybe between 36 and 50. You went through that round. And then I want to say probably in the middle of February, I found out that I kind of made the list of finalists. And after that happened, they basically tell you, I think it was March 31st, they said, well, you're going to receive a phone call between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. To let you know if you've been inducted or not. And we actually were playing that game. We were in Oklahoma City. And during that time, we had shoot around. So I was actually doing a radio pregame talk with our radio play-by-play guy. And I looked down and the phone was ringing, and it was from the Hall of Fame. So I just said, hey, listen, I need to take this. And I said, this is going to go one of two ways. And stepped away, and they told me that I had been inducted. And, obviously I was thrilled about that, and had a lot of emotions, just going through it. It really was surreal in a lot of ways.
I'm glad you said that, Billy, because, if it were me and I had the career that you had, I would think back to playing college basketball, to coaching here, to coaching at Marshall, to coaching, all that sort of comes into focus, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that I've realized, and I realized it even before, being inducted, there's just a lot of things. I think when you look back on your life, you realize how many things you really don't have control over. And, I was just, so fortunate and blessed. And that's the one thing that came to my mind was how grateful, I am to so many people, starting with my parents and the sacrifices they made while growing up. I didn't know that Providence College would offer me a scholarship, and didn't know Coach Pitino would come in and coach me my last 2 years. And then he leaves and goes to Kentucky. And then I get a chance to go with him. And, players choosing to come to Marshall, come into Florida. You try to work hard every day and try to do the very best you can. But a lot of times there's things that are out of your control, and you start to think about what you can control. So I've been very fortunate throughout my life, whether it been my parents or Coach Pitino, assistant coaches, players, friends. I've had an amazing group of people around me that have helped me immensely. And when you receive an honor like that, to me, it's just really a reflection of the people that have come into my life from the time I was very young to all the way up to this point in time that have had a huge impact on me.
Obviously, you were in the loop talking to Coach Golden as the Gators made their run to the national championship. What were your thoughts as you saw, Florida make the run and then eventually win it?
Well, the thing that was interesting is I got the phone call about being inducted while being in Oklahoma City. Obviously, I was there for 5 years and, worked with Mark. Certainly he came to mind just being in Oklahoma City. And then they tell me that I've got to go to the Final Four. There was an event on Friday I couldn't make because we had a game against Portland. So I caught a flight after the game against Portland, got into San Antonio at like 2:30 in the morning. And then they basically said, hey, listen, they're going to do a halftime and they're going to make the announcement of all the people that have been inducted. And what do you know? Florida's playing against Auburn, and I got a chance to see a lot of Gators. And I couldn't stay for the whole game because we played the next afternoon at 1:00 in Charlotte against Charlotte. So it was a lot, but to see the run Florida go on and see, what they were able to do, just really, for me, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and then having it happen in Oklahoma City, and then also being a part of, seeing the Gators go on a great run was really special.
I want to ask one NBA question, Billy. Because even in college, the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster than ever, and the game has gotten physical. And sometimes really physical. I know coaches don't want to have fouls called, but in terms of your league, do you think anything will change along those lines? Is the game too physical, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that happened up here, Steve, was that, I think if you go back to the 90s in the NBA, all the scores were in the 90s. It was like hard to get out of 100, especially when you started talking about playoff series. And then there was a shift towards more freedom of movement, more player movement. And really all the advantages had kind of gone to the offense, where it was really, really hard to play defense. They eliminated all hand checking. They eliminated a lot of things. I think the pendulum has swung back a little bit to what you're seeing now, where they're going to let a little bit more physicality go. And the NBA has been good. Every September you have head coaches meeting, these topics come up. And, the one thing that's interesting, and I know it's a little bit different in college, but the one thing I always appreciate in the NBA is that when we go to these head coaches meetings, not only are the head coaches in there, but there's probably 25 to 30 officials in there.
Oh, wow.
And the head of the officials there. So you're having these round table discussions about the game, the state of the game, the relationship between referees and coaches and players, and where the game can be better. And then obviously you have to try to follow the rule book. And certainly a lot of refereeing comes from feel and what's going on in the game. But I think that there was probably a lot of an outcry, quite honestly, when you started to see some of these scores and all of a sudden teams were, putting up 135, 140 points. They were like, okay, is that a good place to go to? And do we need to swing it back where, we can get defense more involved? And you're always going to be, I think, walking that fine line, Steve, of what's not enough physicality and what's too much. And to your point, as big and as strong and as athletic as these guys are, it's really a hard game to officiate because the players are so smart. They understand the rules. And they're always, I think, trying to thread that needle of what's a good balance. And I would say last year, probably right after the All-Star break, they kind of come out and said they were going to start calling things a little bit differently, especially on drives. With a guy, there's a drive. If you're not impeding his progress straight ahead, that you can obviously have a little bit more bumping. They took out a lot of that stuff. You'd see teams being the bonus, that swing through move where guys would intentionally draw fouls. They stopped calling a lot of the fouls behind pick and rolls where guys would rise up and shoot and try to draw fouls. So some of this stuff had changed. And I think a lot of the coaches felt like a lot of the rules were good that were coming in place because there was a lot of gamesmanship going on, guys getting to the free throw line. And no one wants to watch a game with, 60 or 70 free throws. So It's a hard game to officiate. It's a hard balance to find, but I do think the pendulum has swung back where there is probably more physicality in the game today than maybe there was 5 or 8 years ago.
Let me end. When September is the induction?
Yes. Well, I think it's September 9th.
Richly deserved, my friend. Congratulations. Great honor for you. And like you said, I said you've earned that. So thank you for taking time to talk. Always appreciate you, Billy. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate you. Billy Donovan, Hall of Famer. He gets in September. We'll take a break. We'll have our final guest on. Derek Scott will talk South Carolina baseball. That's next on our Sports Scene podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
All right, we are back here as we close out our Sports Scene podcast for today. Gator baseball travels to Columbia. Jeff and I will be heading up there to take on the Gamecocks, and their play-by-play voice, Derek Scott, joins us now. Derek, always a pleasure. Thank you for doing this. This is our first video here. We've done so much radio over the years, but it's good to have you. Look, Florida really struggled early and is getting itself together here. It's been a little tough for South Carolina, new coach, and trying to get, his things established. If a Gator fan's watching this, Derek, what's been sort of the scenario so far with Carolina baseball?
Well, first off, great to be on with you again.
Yep.
And I see I need to figure out what the heck's wrong with my camera. I don't know what that San Francisco or London fog I'm in is right now, but my apologies for that.
I can see you fine.
Yeah, well, what I would say about this team is what we found out is what everyone is finding out right now is in the era of the portal, if you fire a coach and don't have your next coach ready to take over immediately and you have a void for a couple of weeks, it can really bite you in the butt. And that's what happened here. Paul Maneri's a guy who's obviously name and credibility and know-how are unquestioned, but there was a 2-week void where we didn't have a coach and we lost most of our roster. And the guys who were in the portal that you were trying to recruit Well, they're not willing to commit to a program that doesn't have a head coach in that period. And so we really fell behind in that regard. And so the roster reflects that a little bit. You kind of are thin in a lot of positions. You have some guys who are pitching probably innings that, truth be told, they're not ready for necessarily. And so when you get into SEC competition, that shows up pretty quickly. This team, ironically, has not lost a midweek game against any of the typical midweek competition. I mean, we lost to North Carolina on a neutral site, but that's it. When you look back at the non-conference games against the non-power opponents, meaning Clemson and the SEC, squad's undefeated. But matching up with SEC competition has proven to be a much bigger hurdle to clear.
Sometimes when you're not going well, sometimes you don't see effort. Has the effort from the players been consistent?
Yes, very much so. That's the frustrating part, I know, for Coach Maneri is he comes out of games being really frustrated with outcomes and execution at times, but never effort. That has not been at all up for debate. It's just been at times you feel like you don't have the guns that some of the other programs do. When we started off early on, we had Arkansas and Tennessee in back-to-back weekends. And I know both of those teams have stumbled a bit more lately. But at that moment, I thought, goodness grief, could we see two more powerful teams, more deep rosters than those two back-to-back? And that was just that you get exposed a little bit, or you maybe think that you're further off the mark than you are when you start looking at some of the other teams we've played more recently and been more competitive with. But yeah, those were guys that filled out the uniforms differently than a lot of the guys that we're sending out on the field right now.
From a pitching standpoint, Derek, in terms of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, has that changed? Has that been consistent?
It's changed a lot, and I feel like coming out of this past weekend, we may be more settled than we've been since conference play started. When the year began, it was Dylan Eskew on Friday, who's a Florida native and an old guy. He's one of those guys, in the current college baseball world where you have 24-year-olds playing baseball. He's one of those guys, and so you can count on him every week, knowing what to do and how to go about it. So we had Eskew, then we had Matthew Becker, who's a fourth-year guy, and then we had Jake McCoy, who's a sophomore, but is the most talented arm. But then injuries started popping up, and some struggles along the way happened, and we have not had really a full three-man, who's in each role, really until this past weekend. And even this past weekend, we were TBD on Sunday, but the plan was to start Eskew, and you just hoped health-wise he was ready to go. He gave us a pretty solid effort yesterday. And so I think going into next week, unless something else has cropped up I'm not aware of, the three that you've got there in Stone, in McCoy, and Eskew is a group that you probably feel as good about as you have at any point this year, to be honest.
Sometimes when you don't win, there's different things. It might be pitching. It may be you're not hitting. It may be just a kid didn't make a play in the field at the right time. Can you pin? Has it been sort of a little of everything in this?
It most certainly has. This team does not hit for power. When you look at average in SEC play, because I don't know about you, Steve, but when I get this far into the season, I'm not even looking at overall stats. I'm
not
looking
at
at SEC stats. This team's in the middle of the pack in the league in batting average and things of that nature. They don't strike out a ton, but they don't hit for power. And when you're last in the league in home runs, in the way this league is currently constructed, that is hard to overcome. You've got one legitimate, consistent power threat in Ethan Petrie, and so they're going to pitch around him a ton. And that's just the reality you're going to run into. So that's a factor. But the lack of pitching depth, as I mentioned, has certainly been a factor. Some injuries along the way, that like you guys know that better than anybody, I'm guessing, in the game right this year. But we've had our fair share of those as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of fed into this team being in that 15th spot that it looks like they're probably locked into for, going into the postseason.
Let me end with this, Derek. Look, South Carolina's had a very proud baseball history. And Florida's fan base is the same way. Sometimes you get spoiled, with success. Does the fan base understand the points that you've made in terms of, what happened in the portal, new coach, time to get his people? Do the fans sort of get that?
Some Sure. But plenty? No. And I don't know that you can do or say anything to change that. You want that passion. You need it to build the support that this program has come up with. But then, yes, you're right. There's a lot of folks right now who are looking around and saying, okay, this is another year where we're going to have a losing record in the SEC. And we've had more of those in the last decade than we had in the entire history of the program prior to this last decade. And they're never going to be okay with that. And honestly, I don't know how much I want them to be okay with it, because if they're okay with it, that means they lose interest. And that's not what you want at all.
All right. We'll see you this weekend. Appreciate your
Sounds
time,
good.
Derek. Thank you for doing
Forecast
this.
looks great. We'll see you there.
Great. That's the best news. That the forecast looks great. Love life. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All
See you,
right.
man.
Play-by-play voice of South Carolina. Yeah. For us, those are words, music to people's ears, because you don't want to hear rain. You don't want to hear bad weather. Zach, are we good on? Do we need to take another break, or are we good? Okay. That's going to do it for our podcast for today. Again, I want to thank all of our guests who were here Friday. We'll do this, if technology allows, from Columbia, South Carolina. Zach Rothrock, our producer. By the way, I did want to get a couple of people here that gave us some live comments. Tommy said, do you think teams didn't want to take Sanders because of his dad and his popularity, having friends in the media, kind of like the Tebow effect? No. I had not even close to the Tebow effect. If you looked at what an anonymous NFL person said, and again, understands one person, but his analysis was not prepared, huge ego, one of the worst interviews he'd ever been in, entitled. Well, that doesn't bode well in the NFL. I think the Browns were the team, if he was going to go to a team, probably the team that he needed to go to, because there they don't really, I mean, Joe Flacco might be their starting quarterback. And Greg said, congratulations, Coach Donovan. You betcha. No question about that. That is our sports scene for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Russell. Till Friday. Again, consume these whenever you want. Appreciate you tuning in. See you later.